All right. Okay. So, um, once again, there is no battery in the microphone, and once again, I forgot to bring batteries because I have other things on my mind, and I actually don't remember until I get here that the batteries are all dead. So I'm just gonna shout, not that loud. I'm just gonna yell, and my voice is sort of back, and I don't have another class today. That's right. I don't need no microphone. I got a big voice. When you have kids, you have to learn to yell at them. Okay, so we're gonna, I have a few kind of closing slides for today to just kind of wrap up this unit on Haidt's the anxious generation, and it's more in the cultural remedies sort of that he thinks to the phone-based life. So just kind of to wrap up the course. Wednesday is the last day of the semester, obviously. So we will come back and I will we'll do Q&A, and I will bring some practice questions to kind of look at with you. I was just not organized enough today, and I have failed. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. I'm as disappointed in me. Now, if students would book fewer appointments with me to talk to me, I would have more time. So it's really their fault, not mine. So, okay. Yes, it's hard with so few cheap/free third spaces to make friends or meet people. I was thinking about this question over the weekend, and I'm like, is it that there are no cheap or free third spaces, or just that people don't go to the ones that exist anymore because they're not cool enough? I don't know. I was considering this question, and I'm like, the bowling league still exists, technically speaking. You could join a bowling league, but you don't. Is that the bowling league's fault? I don't know. Okay. So the last part of the book, in Haidt's book, moves away a little bit from all of this descriptive stuff. And I mean, I swear, I could keep going on this forever. Jean Twenge just published on her Substack yesterday, and I read it, and I was going to bring it in today, and I'm like, no more content and no more charts for these students. You've charted them to death already. But it's basically that smartphones and this digital culture has basically really affected Latina and Black, especially girls in the U.S. And it was just reading it. It's something like the average kind of hours of social media time in Latina and Black girls. It's something like about 34 hours a week, with the top users going up towards 55 hours, right? So they're doing these full-time jobs. So I was like, no, I must stop. There's a limit to where I have to stop bringing in new content. Okay, so we're going to finish up these slides today. There's just a few, and these are kind of closing remarks for the course content. I'm sorry we can't do more. There's so much more I'd love to talk about, but time. Okay, so, and you're all like, no, we don't want to hear anything else from you. Goodbye. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about a couple things that Haidt kind of wants to suggest as possible solutions to the phone-based life. And Haidt's, I will say, very much, I think, worth reading his books. He's a really interesting thinker, and he has a really kind of, I think, off-center kind of view of things in a lot of ways, which is probably why I like him, because I'm always a little bit pulled towards those heterodox thinkers who have a slightly different take on things. Okay, so what does he say in terms of what phone-based life does? So he suggests, when people see morally beautiful actions, right, they feel as though they've been lifted up, right? When you see someone doing something good, right, taking care, someone working at a soup kitchen or helping the homeless, right, morally good actions, you feel like you've been lifted up, elevated, on a vertical dimension that can be labeled divinity, right? Which is interesting because Haidt describes himself as a sort of an atheist, maybe agnostic in some ways, but definitely not like a religious person. And yeah, when you see repulsive actions, like you go on Reddit, you feel like you've been pulled down and degraded, right? And what he says is our phone-based life like generally pulls people down, right? It changes the way we think, feel, judge, and relate to others, right? And it, usually negatively, right? And I mean, here, I had a friend, and she, like, part of her master's project was she was going through YouTube comment sections and like coding the YouTube comment sections. And she said that at one point she got so depressed by, just going through YouTube comment sections and seeing what people wrote, especially about young women who were doing YouTube content, that she became depressed and had to quit the project, right? She had to do something else. So social media, not always great, and he says incompatible with behaviors that religious and spiritual communities practice, which have been shown to improve happiness, well-being, trust, and group cohesion. What was this guy saying? If you stay hydrated, you'll never be thirsty. I don't know why I put that there. I made these slides last year. Okay, so going back to kind of a sociological focus, Haidt talks a lot about Emile Durkheim in this way, right? So specifically this distinction that Durkheim makes between the sacred and the profane. And Durkheim has this idea in his elementary theory of religion, right? That people kind of move between, the sacred, and the profane. The profane being, the things of this world, and the sacred being things connected to the transcendent, even though Durkheim definitely didn't think that the transcendent actually existed, right? So the profane is your ordinary self-focused consciousness. The sacred, is the realm of the collective, right? Of the group, of the transcendent. And you become a community, a cohesive community, when you engage in rituals that move you, move them in and out of the realm of the sacred together, right? Now, what he says is all of this tends to be done in person, right? The virtual world really gives no structure to time, space, and he says is entirely profane. So, and that's one reason why virtual communities are not usually as satisfying or meaning-giving as real-world ones. And again, someone asked this question, like, what if people have a lot of, in online communities, does that replace real-world communities? And I think that the consensus is generally no, right? And religious rituals, one of the things they do, right, they're embodied, right? And we are, if nothing else, embodied creatures. Religious rituals have these bodily movements, symbolic significance that people do together, right? Being together in a kind of physical spaces with other people and doing things, has this kind of bonding property to it, right? There's something you connect with people who you've done physical things with, like eating meals, religious rituals, sports, right? Think about anyone who's played team sports and how bonded they are with the people they play team sports with, right? Those connections go long and deep and can last end of semester, word stumbles, last a lifetime. The virtual world, by definition, is disembodied, and most of its activities are conducted asynchronously, right? Bless you. I hope someone's dog sneezed at that exact moment. Someone at home. Okay. If I have some extra time at the end of class, would you like to tell? Would I like to tell you about the things you're supposed to learn about? I wouldn't at all. I'm going to do that on Wednesday. The things you were supposed to learn about. I'm sorry. So, day one. God, I think there's something off in the wording of this question. What were you supposed to learn in this course? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at you. No, I'm sorry. It's a funny phrasing. Like, what were we supposed to learn in this course? Like, what was the point of any of this? It's my first day. Like, I've not been paying attention at all. Also, can I now write the midterms? No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. What you were supposed to learn. I don't know what this question means. Oh, what you were supposed to learn about. What we are. Okay. Well, let's come back to that question. I'm sorry. It just makes me giggle. I've lost the ability to do anything. Uh, I'm assuming you want to know what you should study for the final exam, not what you were supposed to learn in the whole course. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm okay. All right. Thank you. I needed that. Okay. So, and what Haidt suggests is lots of religions, right? Pretty much any religion you can think of, and lots of spiritual practices, and even some pop psychology, things like, now I'm forgetting it. What is it that every pop psychology magazine was talking about a couple of years ago? It was being present. What the heck was it called? Mindfulness. Correct. Thank you. That escaped my mind because I'm not being mindful. Right? Things like mindfulness, which are meant to, calm down the jumping monkey, right? Or some people call it the monkey mind, the muddy river of the mind, right? Of ordinary consciousness, and open your heart to others or God or enlightenment or whatever it happens to be. Now, meditation has been shown to promote well-being, even brief regular meditation in fully secular context, right? So it doesn't have to be religious. What Haidt says is our phone-based life, in contrast, is a never-ending series of notifications, alerts, and distractions, and phone calls from random phone numbers offering me, once again, duct cleaning and furnace services, right? I got one on my way here to class. It's like, I'm calling from duct cleaning and furnace services. I'm like, yeah, sure you are. Okay, so fragmented consciousness and training us to fill every moment of consciousness with something from our phones, right? They are engagement devices. They're meant to draw your attention as much as possible and fill up your brain. And I saw, it was a comic, and it was like, I should have posted it into this slide. And it's like, why do you listen to podcasts? Because I'm afraid to be lonely, right? Because people just like fill all of their time in their brain with, I don't like myself and I don't want to actually have to deal with myself. This is the kind of thing, right? The phone fills us with this constant stream of information, and if you're not doing something on your phone, you feel like you should be. So, defining feature of spiritualities, many of them, is self-transcendence. There's a network of brain structures. Oh, I love brain science. The default mode that becomes less active during moments of self-transcendence, right? As if it were a neural basis of profane consciousness, right? So when you meditate, you're actually default brain mode kind of switches off, and you're calm down, right? Which is why it's so good for you. But social media keeps the focus on self-presentation, branding, and it's almost perfectly designed to prevent self-transcendence, which is probably why we get something like a move that was supposed to be an M, did not turn out. Something like mindfulness, right? Why do we get that in the smartphone era? And why did it become such a pop psychology phenomenon? Specifically because, so few people now are kind of practicing it, right? The culture kind of responds in that way by offering a product or service. Okay. Most religions urge us to be less judgmental, right? In some way, to pull the log out of your own eye before you worry about the speck in someone else's. Judge not, lest ye be judged. For the measure you give shall be the measure you get. Also, the great title for a Shakespeare play, Measure by Measure. Okay, so social media, on the other hand, according to Haidt, sort of encourages us to offer evaluations of others at a rate never before, right? You're invited to constantly be judging people, to give them likes, like, share, follow, and subscribe. I've always joked that in the middle of my classes, I should just integrate a live read and be like, this class brought to you by Raycon, right? Struggled with a good night's sleep? Well, struggle no more. You can purchase a Helix mattress. I'm just kidding. Let me try to sell you some nutritional supplements of questionable value. Those are my favorite ones. It's like these True Beats gummies, and I'm like, wonderful. I'm sure those gummies will in fact improve my heart health. I have no doubts about this whatsoever. Okay, religion advises to be slow to anger, quick to forgive. Social media tends to encourage the opposite, right? It's like post that, shitty comment, right? Ratio people, downvote the Snow White trailer. Okay, that one might be justified. Actually, I'm sorry. The dwarves are horrifying. They're wrong. It's just they're not right. They're not even real people, so I can be judgy of them. Right, but social media encourages us, in a sense, towards our worst impulses. Okay, I think we're almost done. So, look up. What does that mean? One of the things that Haidt kind of stresses in the back part of the book is how, disconnecting from the phone is really important, right? Oh, what to say? I have it here, like almost right out of his book. The grandeur of nature is the most universal and easily accessible route to experiencing awe, right? An emotion that is closely linked to spiritual practice and progress, right? And if you've taken my SOC religion course, great. If you haven't, you should definitely do that, except that it's full, but I can open more seats. Email me. One of the things that philosophers going back to like Plato and Aristotle suggested was that, the beginnings of kind of inquiry and, of being truly human is the sense of grandeur and awe, called thav, can't do the Greek, thav magin. And basically that's where philosophy starts. That's where everything starts, right? Is in a sense of awe in the natural world. And Haidt suggests, right, simple things like a walk in a natural setting can cause a sort of self-transcendence. And if you've ever had like one of those moments where you're like out in nature and you're like, you feel really, really small, right? That's kind of what Haidt is pointing at, especially if one pays close attention and is not attending to a phone. Okay, awe in nature may be especially valuable for Gen Z because it counteracts, anxiety and self-consciousness caused by a phone-based childhood. It's really interesting, like not even coming out of Haidt, right? But some of the other research around this, like research has been done by it has been done by Sherry Turkle, but she quotes it in her book. Going to like a phone-free summer camp for kids, and these would have all been Gen Z at the time, will do things like improve markers of empathy, right? People's ability to read other people's emotions and self-expression, be more empathetic with them, right? All of these things counteract kind of like, self-consideration, move into kind of self-transcendence. Separating from phones and especially being out in nature has this powerful quality. I love this picture, but I don't know what it is. I want that. I want to be this person. I don't know why. That looks like fun. Floating free. Okay. I think it's my last slide. Oh, it is. Oh. Stuff we ran out of time to cover. All right, hang on. We'll get to that in a sec. Okay, my last slide. I'm pretty sure. Yes, and well, I've ended so early, even though I had to cut content out of the course. Yes. All right. So, meaning, right? What Haidt says: many people feel a yearning for connection and spiritual elevation. A phone-based life fills that with mere trivia, and TikTok videos of people dancing in amusing ways or creating new dances that will then be like monetized and turned into Fortnite emotes. And then it's just not a place we ever want to go, right? The ancients, right? So ancient philosophers, and he's a big fan of the Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, suggested, advised to be more deliberate in choosing what we expose ourselves to. And there's actually some really interesting books. I'm just kind of working through them now by people, people who went through advertising and they've kind of turned to philosophy. One of them is called "You Are What You Pay Attention To," and it's a really kind of interesting take on how advertising turns us into certain things, right? So think about it. When you're on TikTok next, if you are what you pay attention to, what are you becoming, right? Okay. Blaise Pascal, called this the God-shaped hole, but whatever your concept of it is, it's something staring at a phone won't fix, right? And this is sort of, Haidt's take is we need to move away from a phone-based childhood to something else. Now, very interestingly, if you want to see social research in action, one of the things that's very clearly happened with this research, and I'm just going to block that off. I don't know if you pay attention to things. Alberta this year went to a policy, right, where phones are not allowed in the classroom, right? Basically, in schools, you're not allowed to have the phone anywhere but in your locker, right? Much, I will say, to my daughter's dislike. She did not like this policy. I don't think she'll ever vote UCP just for that purpose, but that's okay. It's a good policy, right? And this is based on a lot of the work from Twenge and from Haidt, who've been advocating for this. In Sweden, starting next year, they're starting an experiment where they're actually going to ban laptops, tablets, and phones from school and basically go back to doing everything with paper and pen with a kind of, it turns out that paying all of these companies like Google and Microsoft for e-learning technologies is really, really expensive, and it's costing governments a ton of money. But also what we've seen generally is pretty steep decline since we brought more of these technologies in terms of things like, ability to read, write, our PISA scores are going down, mathematics, and the ability for students to get distracted in class instead of doing, listening to the lectures. Can I tell you my favorite story of this? Back when I was a graduate student, it was in a class that no longer exists, but should. I'm sad. So 344, which was Media, Culture, and Society. I was TAing the class, and I sat at the back so I could listen. And I sat in the same spot every time, right behind this one young woman. And I swear to God, the entire semester, she played Monopoly on her laptop. Every single class, I would sit there and kind of watch her play Monopoly. Always by Boardwalk, always a mistake. Now, just for my own amusement, I then tracked her progress in the course. Now, this is one piece of data. I don't know anything else about this person. I haven't tracked their GPA. I didn't stalk them or anything. I just was there one day when she handed in her exam. I noted her name, and because I was doing all the grading, because my supervisor sucked and didn't want to do anything for herself. It went badly between us, if you can't tell. I had to break up with her as a supervisor before I finished my PhD. She failed the course, right? And is that surprising? No, she played Monopoly the entire semester, right? So, distraction, right? We're starting to see people looking at these technologies and listening to people like Haidt and Twenge and being like, we need to pull back on some of these technologies. We need to get phones out of classrooms. And I think the next step is going to be laptops, iPads are going to come out of elementary, junior high schools, and we're going to go back to a paper pencil kind of world, which has all sorts of advantages and disadvantages. But we are seeing some of this social research being taken up in major ways. My other pen would stick to my cup and I could just leave it there, but that's not this pen. Okay. Oh my gosh. So many questions. Okay, 5 questions. Okay, can I stop teaching SOS 100 and teach another 300 or 400 level instead? Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to write to the chair of the department and be like, hey, Brassard is being wasted teaching SOS 100. And by the way, intro to methods. We would like him to not teach that and teach other things. No, I appreciate. I'm running out of courses to take with you. Difficult. I have many courses, and I like you better than Richard. I am better than Richard. He's not even a sociologist. He's a theorist. Tell him I said that. No, don't tell him I said that. He's scary. He's British. Okay. Maybe the question asker means the stuff we ran out of time to cover. Okay, the stuff we ran out of time to cover, you don't have to know. It is dead to you. Richard Reeves' book of Boys and Men, we're not going to talk about. Dumb phones versus smartphones. Any research on the outcomes? So we're starting to see some stuff, right? And the problem is, so here's the problem. You want to know the real problem? With dumb phones, it's really hard to find enough people who are using dumb phones to actually get a sample going to compare them, right? To do like randomized control trials, it's getting really difficult. There is a kind of a weird counterculture movement. You see them sometimes, and they're like, I use a Nokia bar phone. I used them back in the day. They're not that great, and I'm having a hard time thinking how that would be better. So I think we're just at kind of the beginning of this process, but I think what you're going to see is we're going to see more schools banning these technologies, and then we're going to start to see whether it has an effect on learning outcomes. Is my class CHRTC 309 in the fall going to be similar to SOC of religion? You ask an interesting question. Yes and no. Okay, I'm going to answer this I answered this one very simply. So CHRTC 309, for those who don't know, is an online asynchronous class, a dumb phone, DUMB. It's a phone that isn't smart, right? So it makes phone calls and sends text messages and nothing else. What we used to call a phone, Anyway, CHRTC 309, email me. I'll send you links on Amazon to dumb phones. It'll be fine. So, Sociology of Youth and Religion, CHRTC 309. At some point, I'm trying to get St. Joe's and the Department of Sociology to talk to each other so you could take it as a SOC credit, but so far, no luck. Sociology of Youth and Religion, it kind of starts the same way as SOC of Religion with a lot of the same theories, and then talks very specifically about kind of youth and religion in very specific contexts. So like the first 2 weeks of the course are the same as like week 3 and 4 of SOC of religion. The rest is completely different. Completely different. You took it, but you haven't taken SOC of religion yet. So yeah, you don't know. You're maxed out on SOC credits. Okay. That's okay. It's full anyway. But yes, it's very different. It's very youth focused. Like think of the youth unit we did on youth and religion here. That's like a tiny little sliver of that class, and the rest is like things like we talk about parents, like how different parenting styles, parental levels of religiosity, how parents talk about religion, how that affects youth religiosity, summer camps, how summer camps affect it. I'm forgetting what else is in that class. There's a lot of stuff. I'm looking at Marie because she took it. Are the exams the same for SOC 309 or CHRTC 309? Yes, they are. It is 3 short answer exams, 5 questions. 5 questions? Yeah. 5. I don't know why I keep looking at you. You probably don't remember. I just know you took it last semester. And Ashley's not here. You think I teach like 12 courses a year. You think I can remember any of them anymore? It's like if I had 12 children, I would forget one of them, I'm sure. So it's 3 midterm or 2 midterms and a final, but they're all 5 short answer questions. Will this exam be in person or online like the midterms? You should show up here in person. No, I'm kidding. It's same as online. It's open 24 hours, right? So on the day of the exam, which I know I have forgotten, I think it's the 17th? 16th? 16th. Thank you. 16th. I will double check and make sure. I had to delete, by the way, the exam on Canvas because I hadn't set a date for it and someone went in and did it. But that's okay because all of the questions were wrong because there's 3 units in there that I took out this year. So it's just a mess. So I deleted it. If you're why did this exam disappear? I'm going to recreate it. I just was oh, I actually need to change this. There was questions on Twenge's iGen and I'm nope, not talking about that. And a couple of other things. So I had to delete that exam, but it will be back and it will be on the correct date at that point. But it is online. You do not have to come. I will potentially not even be on campus. I don't know. We'll see. I have no idea. Okay. How much time will you get to do the final? all of this information, I think, is on Bear. Believe it's 90 minutes. I believe it's 90 minutes. I might make it 2 hours. We will see. I'm going to tell you on Wednesday because I am still debating whether I'm going to make it 5 questions or 6. How do you feel about that? 5? Okay. 2 hours. 10 hours? 2 questions. It's negotiating. But one of those questions will just be summarize. No, I'm kidding. Yes, I will tell you on Wednesday because I have to sit down and think about how this is going to work and like rewrite the questions because apparently I didn't lock it down and someone was like, I'm just going to try the final exam now on Hawaii. I will do what I can. I probably will because frankly, if I make it 6 questions, that is so much more marking for me also. So we know how well this has gone for me this term. So I just think about me. That's what I'm thinking. Put myself first. Thank you. No one ever says that to the professor. Okay. I think 5 questions make sense because I think we covered 4 units anyway. So 1 question will get 2 units, or 1 unit will get 2 questions. End of semester brain. I could, but that throws off my whole math for the whole course. Like, it makes it so easy when it's all out of 5 questions out of 50. It's adding it all up. It's so simple. Okay, can we go over final practice questions, or will this be done on Wednesday? I am not ready for that particular thing because I have not prepped. And I actually thought these slides were going to take longer. So, no, we'll do it on Wednesday. As our swan song. We'll do Q&A. If you have any questions about course content, bring it in. And we will look over 1 short answer question for each unit at least, maybe a couple, and we'll go from there. Huzzah. I'm done. I'm done early. I'm sorry. For everyone else, it's not cumulative. For you, no, you're right. It's not cumulative. I don't even know why you wrote my name, but okay. All right. Yeah, so we're done for today. We're done. Course content is over, friends. Yay, thank you. Oh, no, you're clapping because it's over. Okay. All right. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you on Wednesday. We'll do some review. Bring in questions if you have any questions, and we will go from there.